My wife cheated on me with our neighbor, then stole $200, $0 of our savings to run away with him. Now she's claiming she's entitled to half the house and I'm facing legal battles over property I built from scratch. I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, writing about how I found out my wife, Emily, was cheating on me with our neighbor, Mark. Honestly, the whole thing felt like a bad joke at first, something out of a soap opera. But the truth hit me hard, and it's been a whirlwind since. It all started with small signs, little things I brushed off at first. Her phone always hidden, her suddenly staying late at work, and a weird smell on her clothes when she came home. I figured maybe she was just stressed or working extra hours, but deep down, I knew something was off. Emily has always been a bit bitchy, honestly. She has this sharp tongue and a way of twisting words that made her seem charming but also manipulative. She'd lie about the smallest things and then get annoyed if I questioned her. Still, I loved her, and I wanted to believe she was faithful. We'd been married for about 5 years and we had a decent life. I built our house from scratch, poured everything I had into that place, and we had good savings, around $200, $0, mostly from my hard work as a contractor. I thought we had stability, but I guess I was naive. It all changed a couple of months ago when I started noticing things that didn't add up. Emily was more secretive than usual, hiding her phone constantly, even when she was in the bathroom or taking a shower. She was more irritable, snapping at me for no reason. She also started going out more, claiming it was work dinners or friends' nights out, but I knew she was lying. I'd see her texting late at night, and her messages would disappear if I looked over her shoulder. I felt uneasy, like I was losing control of my own marriage. Then came the night I found the real proof. I was cleaning up the living room when I noticed her phone lying face down on the coffee table. I picked it up out of curiosity and saw a message thread from Mark, our neighbor. It was full of flirtatious texts, compliments, about her looks and plans to meet up. My stomach sank. I couldn't believe it. I had always trusted her. Hell, I even introduced her to Mark at a barbecue a few months earlier. And now this? It was like a punch in the gut. I didn't confront her right away. Instead, I kept quiet, trying to process what I'd seen. Every time I looked at her, I saw the same bitchy smirk she always had, but now I saw it differently. It was like she was hiding a secret and I was just starting to catch on. I started digging more, going through her emails, her bank statements, trying to piece everything together. That's when I discovered she had stolen about $200, $0 from our savings, money I worked my ass off for, to run away with Mark. That's when I realized that her betrayal wasn't just emotional, it was financial, and she was planning to leave me and take everything I built. The next day, I decided I couldn't stay silent anymore. I sat her down and confronted her with the evidence. I showed her the texts, the bank withdrawals, everything. Her reaction was a mix of anger, denial, and outright lies. She told me I was paranoid, that Mark was just a friend, that I was overreacting. She claimed she loved me, that she was just confused, and that the money was for us, for a new start. But I knew better. I knew she was lying, and I could see the guilt in her eyes, the way she avoided my gaze, the way she tried to turn it around on me, saying I was controlling or jealous. The emotional impact hit me like a ton of bricks. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and furious. How could she do this? How could she lie so easily? I'd poured my life into her, built a future, and now I was facing the possibility of losing everything: our house, our savings, my trust. I was angry at Mark too, that bastard who had no respect for marriage or loyalty. But mostly I was angry at myself for not seeing it sooner, for not noticing the signs. I kept asking myself, how did I let it get this far? How did I not see the cracks in our relationship? I remember sitting there after the confrontation, feeling numb. I didn't cry, but I wanted to. I felt the weight of the betrayal crushing me. I kept replaying all the moments, the good ones, the bad ones, and wondering if I could ever trust her again. The hardest part was realizing that all the plans I had, the dreams of our future, might be gone. That house I built from scratch, the savings I worked so hard for, what was it all worth now? I felt like I was staring into an abyss, not knowing how to get out or if I even should. But deep down, I knew I had to decide what to do next. I couldn't stay in this limbo, living with a wife who was clearly planning to leave me for another man. I decided I'd gather all the evidence, get legal advice, and prepare to fight for what's mine, not just the house, but the money I earned and built. I wasn't going to let her walk away with half of everything without a fight. She thought she could lie, cheat, steal, and I'd just roll over. No way, not this time. I was done being the naive husband. I was going to take control, no matter how much it hurt. That's where I am. Now just trying to figure out my next move, wondering how I got here and whether I can ever trust again. I've learned that sometimes the people you love the most can turn out to be the biggest betrayals. And when that happens, you have to be ready to fight. Because if you don't, they'll take everything from you, even your sense of stability. After confronting Emily with all the evidence, I thought maybe she'd crack, admit everything, and we could somehow salvage what was left of our marriage. But no. Instead, she started with her usual bullshit, denying, twisting, trying to turn the tables on me. She said I was paranoid, that I was imagining things, that Mark was just a buddy helping her with some home repairs, and that the money I thought she stole was actually a loan she was planning to pay back. Yeah, right. I knew better. I saw the withdrawal receipts, the bank transfers, the texts. There was no way she was telling the truth. Her reaction was infuriating. She sat there with her bitchy smirk, acting like she was the victim. "You're overreacting, Jason," she said, crossing her arms. "You always jump to conclusions. Mark's just a friend, and the money, it's none of your business. I was going to tell you, but you never listened to me anyway." I couldn't believe her. That's when I realized she was a master manipulator, throwing in a little victimhood, lying her ass off and trying to make me doubt myself. I remember feeling this rush of anger, but also this cold sense of clarity. I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I told her if she thought she was leaving with my money and my house, she had another thing coming. I was going to take legal action, and I was going to fight for every penny, every brick I built. I told her flat out that I was done trusting her, that her lies had broken something irreparable between us. She scoffed, rolled her eyes, and threw out some bullshit about how I was jealous and controlling. That only made me angrier. In the days that followed, I started digging even deeper. I hired a lawyer, got access to our bank accounts, and began compiling all the evidence I could find. I knew she was planning to run away with Mark, and I needed to stop her before she took everything. It was a strange feeling, part anger, part sadness, part determination. I'd poured so much into that house, into our life together, and now it felt like it was all slipping through my fingers like sand. I was furious at Mark, furious at Emily, and most of all, furious at myself for not seeing the signs earlier. One night, I decided to check her phone again. I had a gut feeling she'd left something behind or slipped up. Sure enough, I found more texts, more flirtatious messages, plans to meet up, even some talk about how she'd finally get away and start fresh. It was clear she'd been planning this for weeks. The worst part was realizing she'd been lying to my face every day, acting like everything was fine while secretly plotting her escape. I sat there, holding her phone in my hand, feeling like the biggest idiot alive. I had trusted her, loved her, built everything with her, and she was just using me. She was a bitch, plain and simple. The woman I thought I knew was gone, replaced by someone cold and selfish. I couldn't believe she was willing to steal our life savings, money I'd scrimped and saved for years, to run off with Mark. That was the moment I knew I had to fight back hard. I couldn't let her take everything I worked for. The next morning, I called my lawyer and explained everything. We discussed how to freeze her accounts, file for a restraining order if needed, and prepare for a legal battle over the house and the money. I had to be strategic. I knew Emily would try to spin this in her favor, claiming I was abusive or controlling, but I had the evidence. I was ready to fight, and I wasn't going down without a fight. It was a strange mix of emotions: anger, betrayal, heartbreak, and a strange sense of relief. I kept thinking about all the plans I had made, all the nights I stayed up working on that house, and how she was just throwing it all away like it was nothing. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach, but I also knew I couldn't let her win. Not this way. I had to stand my ground, no matter how much it hurt. In the meantime, I started keeping a detailed journal of everything, every message, every dollar stolen, every lie she told. I knew this wasn't just about revenge. It was about protecting what was mine. I also reached out to some friends, people I could trust, for support. I told them what was happening, and they told me to stay strong, that I deserved better than someone who'd lie, cheat, and steal from me. That's when I realized that, despite the heartbreak and the anger, I was going to come out of this stronger. I'd learned a brutal lesson about trust, about the importance of watching for the signs, and about how certain people will do anything to get what they want, even if it means destroying everything in their path. I didn't know how this legal battle was going to turn out, but I knew one thing for sure. I was done being the naive husband. From now on, I'd be the man who fought for what's his, no matter what it takes. Once I had everything laid out, evidence, a plan, and a lawyer on speed dial, I started taking more aggressive steps. I wasn't about to let Emily walk away with my house and most of our savings just because she threw a tantrum and lied her way through it. I knew she was counting on her charm and bitchy attitude to turn things in her favor, but I wasn't going to let her manipulate her way out of this. The first thing I did was get a temporary restraining order to keep her from selling or transferring any property or assets. That was a game changer. Suddenly, she was limited in what she could do, and I had legal grounds to freeze accounts if needed. The lawyer I hired, let's call him Steve, was sharp. He told me to be prepared for a long fight, especially since Emily was already claiming half the house, saying she deserved it because she was entitled. She was trying to spin this like she was the victim, claiming I had been abusive, controlling, and that she was just taking what's hers after everything I'd done. Honestly, that made my blood boil. I worked my ass off to build that house, to save that money, and now she was trying to rewrite history. It was clear she was planning to ghost me, probably with Mark, and leave me with nothing. But I wasn't about to let her get away with it. I had the receipts, the texts, the bank records. I was ready to fight in court, and I made sure to document everything. The emotional roller coaster was brutal. I went from furious to numb, from determined to hopeless, all within a single day. Meanwhile, Emily was trying her best to spin her story. She told mutual friends I was abusive and controlling, which was laughable. I never raised my voice at her, never laid a finger on her. All I did was confront her with the truth, and now she was twisting it into some kind of nightmare. She even went as far as claiming I was gaslighting her, which was so absurd I almost laughed. If anyone was gaslighting, it was her, trying to make me doubt my own eyes and ears. One evening, I decided to check her phone again. I was suspicious she might be hiding more evidence or trying to delete messages. Sure enough, I found more flirtatious texts with Mark, some explicit, talking about how they couldn't wait to get away and start fresh. There was also a lot of talk about the money, how she'd take care of everything, and that she'd finally be free. It was like reading a script for a betrayal movie. I felt sick, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I saw her for what she really was, a liar and a thief. That night I sat in my home office, staring at all the evidence spread out on my screen. I thought about everything, our wedding, the plans we made, the house I built from scratch. All of it was a lie, and she was the biggest part of that lie. I remembered how she used to bitch about money, how she'd complain about the bills, but then she'd secretly siphon off thousands. The worst part was knowing she'd been planning to leave me, probably with Mark, and that she'd stolen a huge chunk of our savings to do it. I also realized I needed to act fast. I called my lawyer again and told him everything. We discussed how to serve her with legal notices, how to protect the house, and how to prepare for a court battle over property and assets. I knew she'd fight dirty, probably try to claim she was entitled to half the house because she'd contributed in her own way by lying, cheating, and stealing. But I had the evidence, and I was ready to fight for what's mine. At the same time, I reached out to a few trusted friends for support. I didn't want to go through this alone. One friend, Mike, told me to keep my head clear and to focus on the facts. "You built that house," he said. "You earned every penny, and she's not entitled to a damn thing she didn't contribute legally. Don't let her guilt trip you or manipulate you into giving her what she wants." Their words helped me stay grounded, even when I felt like breaking down. In the midst of all this chaos, I started feeling a strange mix of emotions: anger at Emily, heartbreak over what we lost, and a sense of resolve I hadn't felt before. I realized that, no matter how much I loved her, I couldn't let her destroy everything I'd worked for. My house, my savings, my future, these were mine, and I was going to fight for them. I wasn't about to let her walk away with some half-assed story and a free ride. I knew the legal battle wasn't going to be easy. Emily was a bitchy, manipulative person, and she'd probably pull every trick in the book to try to get her way. But I was determined. I had the evidence, I had the truth, and I had the support of people who knew what kind of person she really was. I was ready for her to try and spin her lies, but I'd be waiting for her in court, ready to show everyone who was really the liar here. So I keep going, one step at a time. I'm preparing myself for the fight ahead, knowing that she's not going to give up easily. But I also know I have the truth on my side. This isn't just about the house or the money anymore. It's about standing up for myself and not letting someone like Emily, with her bitchy attitude and lies, take everything I've built. I've learned that sometimes you have to fight dirty too, and I'm ready to do just that. The legal process has been a nightmare, honestly. Every day feels like a new assault. More lies from Emily, more attempts to manipulate the situation. She's trying to claim she's entitled to half the house because, according to her, she contributed emotionally and domestically, which is a load of crap. That's her way of saying she deserves half just because she was there, even though she's been stealing from me and fucking around with Mark behind my back. She's hired her own lawyer now, some slick guy who's trying to spin her version of events, claiming I was controlling and abusive, even though I never laid a finger on her. It's all about painting herself as the victim, while I'm the villain. But I've got the receipts, texts, bank statements, even our neighbor's statements confirming her affair. And I've made sure that everything is documented. I want this fight to be about facts, not her bitchy lies. One of the most shocking moments was when Emily tried to claim that the money she took, our $200, $0, was a gift she planned to give back later. She said she needed it to escape Mark and start fresh somewhere else. Yeah, right. I called her out on that, showing her the bank transfer records, the withdrawal receipts, and the fact that she'd been planning this for weeks. Her face went pale and she started stammering. It was satisfying too. See her finally caught in her own web of lies. But the thing is, she's not backing down easily. She's been making threats, saying she'll fight me in court, claim she's entitled to half the house because she deserves it, and even accusing me of trying to control her by stopping her from leaving. That's classic Emily playing the victim, twisting everything around to suit her narrative. She's bitchy, manipulative, and she's used to getting her way. I've also been dealing with her sneaky tactics, trying to hide or destroy evidence or get her friends to back her up. I caught wind that she's been talking to some of our neighbors, trying to turn them against me. But I've been smart. My lawyer advised me to gather as much evidence as possible, and I've done that. I've got her texts, bank records, and witness statements. I even got a private investigator to follow her for a few days, just to see if she's meeting Mark again or trying to hide more money. Turns out she's been sneaking around with him, planning their escape. It's frustrating because I feel like I'm fighting a ghost. Emily is so good at lying and twisting things that sometimes I wonder if I'm just paranoid. But every piece of evidence I have proves she's been lying from the start. She's a bitchy, selfish woman who thought she could cheat, steal, and manipulate her way out of this mess. Well, I'm not letting her. I've learned that when someone shows you who they are, bitchy, manipulative, and unfaithful, you believe them. No more illusions. I've also started to question everything about our life together. Did I miss the signs? Was I too trusting? Did I ignore her bitchy attitude because I loved her? Honestly, I feel stupid for not seeing how selfish she was. She's always been a little bitchy, but I thought that was just her personality. Turns out, it was her way of hiding her true nature, the liar, the thief, the manipulator. Now I'm in the middle of a legal storm, trying to make sure I don't lose everything. The house I built from scratch, the savings I worked so hard for. She's claiming she's entitled to half, and I have to fight to prove otherwise. I've been told that if I don't act fast, she might try to sell the house or transfer ownership to Mark or her friends. That's why I've been pushing for an injunction, to freeze all her assets and prevent her from doing anything crazy. It's exhausting, honestly. Every night I lie awake wondering if I'll win or lose, if I'll get my house, or if she'll walk away with everything. I keep reminding myself that I built that house, that I earned every penny, and that I deserve to keep what's mine. But Emily's bitchy attitude and lies make it clear she's willing to fight dirty, so I have to be just as ruthless. What's worse is the emotional toll. Every time I think about the betrayal, her lying, cheating, stealing, it cuts deep. I loved her, I really did. But now I see her for what she really is, a manipulative, selfish woman who's willing to destroy everything for her own benefit. That realization hurts more than anything. It's like finding out the person you trusted most was really just a stranger all along. So I keep pushing forward, working with my lawyer, gathering more evidence, and preparing for the next court date. I know she'll try every trick in the book to get what she wants, but I'm ready. I've learned that in fights like this, the truth is your best weapon. I don't care how bitchy she gets or how many lies she tells. My evidence speaks for itself. And when this is over, I hope I can finally breathe again, knowing I fought for what's rightfully mine. The court hearings have been a roller coaster. Emily shows up with her bitchy attitude, trying to act innocent, but I see right through her. She's been trying to spin a story that I'm some controlling husband who kept her locked in a cage. The reality is, I just wanted her to be honest, loyal, and faithful. Instead, she was sneaking around with Mark, stealing our savings and planning her escape like some criminal. The court sees through her lies, I think, but she's persistent, and that bitchy smirk of hers makes me want to punch her. The legal team has been fighting hard. We filed for a property dispute, claiming that I built that house from scratch and that I am the sole legal owner. Emily is trying to claim she's entitled to half because she contributed emotionally and domestically, which is laughable. I supplied the money, the sweat, and the vision. She just bitchily nagged and lied her way through it. My lawyer presented all the evidence, bank records, text messages, witness testimonies, and I could see the judge starting to lean in my favor. But Emily isn't giving up. She's hired some slick lawyer who's trying to argue that she deserves half the house because she helped with renovations, and that her contribution should be recognized. It's all bullshit. I know she's just trying to muddy the waters, distract from her theft and cheating. Her bitchy attitude is on full display during court, trying to look innocent, but it's obvious she's panicking. She knows she's losing control. Meanwhile, I've been feeling this strange mix of relief and anger. Relief that I'm finally fighting back, that I've got the evidence to prove my case. But anger because I see how manipulative she's being. She's trying to turn the court against me, claiming I was abusive or controlling, which is a total lie. I've never raised my voice at her, never laid a finger on her. All I did was confront her with the truth, and now she's trying to spin it as some kind of nightmare. That bitchy smirk she wears in court, I want to wipe it off her face. The worst part is how she's trying to justify her theft of our savings. She claims the $200, $0 was for us, that she was going to pay it back, that it was some kind of emergency fund. Yeah, right. I've got bank transfer logs, withdrawals, and even her own messages admitting she took the money to run away with Mark. She's trying to deny everything, but I've got her dead to rights. I've also started to realize how much she's been manipulating everyone around her. Our neighbors, our friends, she's been spinning some version of events that makes her look like the victim. Meanwhile, I'm the villain who tried to control her. It's classic Emily, bitchy, manipulative, and full of lies, but I'm not falling for it. I've been documenting everything, saving every message, every bank statement, every piece of evidence. I want the truth to come out, and I want her to pay for what she did. I've learned a lot from all this, honestly. I've learned that trust can be so fragile, and that some people will lie and cheat without remorse. I've also learned that fighting for what's right can be exhausting, but it's worth. I refuse to let her walk away with half my house, with the money I earn, just because she's bitchy enough to try. I'm prepared to go all the way to court to fight for my property and to make sure she doesn't get away with her lies. In the meantime, I've started making plans for what happens after. If I win, I want to rebuild, maybe sell the house, split the proceeds, and start fresh. If I lose, I'll have to figure out how to move on, but I won't let her take everything from me without a fight. I've already lost so much trust so many years, but I still have myself. And I know I won't be the naive husband who believed in fairy tales anymore. I've been betrayed, yes, but I'm stronger now, more cautious, and ready to face whatever comes next. I keep reminding myself that I built that house with my own hands, that every brick, every nail was laid with sweat and effort. Emily's bitchy attitude and lies won't change that. I just hope the court sees through her manipulations, because I deserve to keep what's mine. This fight is far from over. But I'm not backing down. Not this time. I've learned that sometimes the truth is the only thing that can set you free, and I intend to make sure that truth comes out loud and clear. The final court hearing was a whirlwind. Emily showed up, bitchy smirk in place, trying her best to look innocent even though her eyes kept darting around nervously. Her lawyer was doing everything possible to muddy the waters, claiming that I'd been controlling, that I had abused her emotionally, and that she deserved half the house because she contributed in her own way. But I had the evidence, texts, bank statements, witnesses, and I knew the truth. When the judge called the case, I felt a surge of relief. I presented everything calmly but firmly. I laid out how I built that house from scratch, how I worked my ass off to save every penny, and how Emily had stolen our savings to run away with Mark. I told the court about her manipulations, her lies, and her bitchy attitude that masked her greed. I saw her lawyer stumble as I handed over proof of the bank transfers, the explicit messages, and the witness testimonies. It was clear I had the stronger case, and I could see the judge starting to lean my way. Emily's lawyer tried one last desperate move, claiming that Emily had contributed to the house's value through her emotional support and domestic work. But the judge wasn't buying it. They looked directly at her and said, "Mrs. Smith, your actions, stealing, lying, cheating, are not consistent with someone entitled to half of a property they didn't legally contribute to." That was the moment I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. The judge ruled in my favor, awarding me sole ownership of the house, and ordered Emily to pay back the stolen $200, $0 plus damages for breach of trust and fraud. Watching her face collapse was almost worth all the stress. Her bitchy smirk disappeared, replaced by a mix of anger and disbelief. She tried to argue, to scream, but the judge cut her off, telling her she had no case. When it was over, I stepped outside, feeling exhausted but victorious. I had fought tooth and nail, and I'd won what was rightfully mine. The aftermath was a whirlwind of cleanup. Emily left the house in a rush with her bitchy attitude still intact, but her lies couldn't undo the truth. I started the process of rebuilding my life, focusing on the future instead of dwelling on the betrayal. The house was mine again, and I was finally free from the manipulative woman who'd lied, cheated, and stolen from me. Looking back, I realize how much I learned from all this. Trust is fragile, and sometimes the people closest to you can turn out to be the biggest enemies. I learned not to ignore the small signs, her secretive phone habits, her bitchy attitude masking selfishness, her lies about finances. I also learned that fighting for what's right is worth every sleepless night and every emotional hurt. Most importantly, I learned that I am stronger than I thought. I thought I loved her, but loving someone doesn't mean you ignore their bitchy attitude or their lies. Love means honesty, loyalty, and respect, things Emily threw out the window the moment she decided to cheat and steal. Now I know I deserve better. I'll rebuild, I'll trust again someday, but I'll never forget the lesson. Don't be naive. Watch the signs, stand your ground, and fight for what's yours. Because in the end, the truth will come out, and when it does, justice will follow.